All right, let's dive in. Today we're looking at, well, it's a YouTube video, and the title's in French. It's Ne vous excusez pas ces choses, hashtag 572.
Oh, yeah. I've seen this one.
Yeah, so it's by Zack Mwekassa. He's a Congolese boxer, and he's got a lot to say about self-respect. Like, he does not hold back.
No, he doesn't. And it's interesting how he talks to, like, his audience, right? Primarily French-speaking Africans. It's this mix of, like, tough love, but it's also really encouraging. He's really diving into these topics that are, like, sometimes a little bit uncomfortable to talk about, like cultural norms, societal expectations.
Yeah, and it's like those little things that we feel like we always have to apologize for.
Right, exactly.
Like, how many times have you felt pressured to say yes to something you really didn't want to do?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah, so like Wakasa, he goes straight to the heart of it. He says you should not apologize for setting boundaries,
Uh-huh.
even with family, even with elders.
Yeah, that's a big one, especially when you think about the cultural context, right? Like, respect for elders is so deeply ingrained in many African societies. And so to navigate that, but also assert your own needs and boundaries, that can be really tricky.
Yeah, and like he gives this example about refusing unwanted physical touch. Like if someone's getting a little too close, being a little too, touchy-feely. And he's making the point that even these small boundaries, they're crucial because it communicates your comfort level.
Right, right. You get to decide what your personal space is, what you're okay with. You have agency.
You don't have to apologize for it.
No.
But it's not just physical boundaries, right? He goes on to say you shouldn't apologize for choosing solitude, which I think is something a lot of people struggle with.
For sure. Especially in today's world, right? Like
Yeah.
we're constantly told to be on, be connected.
Yeah, hustle, hustle, hustle.
Yeah.
But he's saying like that me time, that's for self-reflection, it's for growth, it's really important.
And there's actually a lot of research to back that up, right? Like introspection,
Yeah.
taking that time for yourself leads to greater self-awareness, better decision-making.
So it's not selfish.
No, not at all.
It's an investment.
It is, yeah.
And speaking of authenticity, this next point is really interesting. So he talks about relationships, and he gives some kind of unconventional advice. He says, you shouldn't apologize for seeking solutions within your own household, meaning working things out with your partner rather than always going outside for advice.
Yeah, we often see, like, people going to friends, family, venting when there's relationship issues. He's saying, you know what? Try talking to your partner first.
He even says it's a sign of strength, not weakness, to try to understand your partner's perspective and find solutions together.
Yeah, he's changing the narrative around relationship challenges. They're not failures,
It's growth.
right? It's an opportunity to grow together, build that resilience as a couple.
Okay, so we talked about boundaries, embracing solitude. Now let's get into his take on success, and this is especially relevant for women. He says women should not apologize if their definition of success doesn't fit the typical mold. Like, becoming an entrepreneur. He's actually highlighting that staying at home, raising a family, that's just as valid, it's fulfilling.
Pushing back against these very narrow societal definitions of success.
Yeah, and he really goes for it. Like, he even says women should find a man mature enough to support that choice, if that's the path they choose.
He's anticipating that pushback.
Yeah.
Right. Because there is that perception that staying at home is somehow less ambitious. He's saying, no, you get to decide what success looks like for you. It's about your values, your aspirations. It really is about finding what works for you, what feels meaningful. And it's interesting how he then connects this to, financial independence and generosity.
Right.
He cautions against, like, constantly feeling obligated to give, especially if it means compromising your own well-being.
He really doesn't hold back. Like, he even talks about being okay with saying no to requests for money or help, especially if you've got your own responsibilities.
Yeah, he's talking about boundaries again, like not just in your relationships, but with, finances, resources. Saying no is self-preservation. Right?
Yeah.
It lets you focus on your own needs, your goals.
And he makes this point about taking time to process things before offering help or advice.
Yeah.
He specifically mentions like needing time to adjust your own feelings and thoughts before responding, especially if it's not an urgent matter.
That's really important. It's about emotional intelligence. You don't always have to have the answer right away.
Yeah.
Sometimes taking a step back, giving yourself that space, that leads to a more thoughtful response.
Yeah, and he even uses the example of like someone asking you a question while you're dealing with family problems or having a mental health struggle. It's like it's okay to prioritize your own well-being and not feel pressured to put on a brave face.
Exactly. You can't, pour from an empty cup. Yeah. Right. You got to take care of yourself first.
Absolutely.
And that actually leads perfectly into another one of his points. He talks about the importance of embracing your authentic self. And he really goes all in on this. He talks about everything from your values, your religion, your personal style, like even down to your hairstyle, whether or not you like going clubbing.
It's like he's not just saying accept yourself, he's saying be yourself, like loud and proud.
Right. And he uses these very specific examples like wearing natural hair, preferring traditional clothing. It's like being true to yourself might mean going against the grain.
Right.
And that can be hard.
Oh, for sure. Like there's always that fear of judgment, right?
Yeah.
And he talks about that too, like people who might criticize you, belittle you for your choices because they don't align with theirs. He calls them dream killers because they can really discourage you from pursuing your goals, expressing your uniqueness.
It's a reminder that not everyone in your life will be supportive.
Right.
Sometimes even the people closest to you, family, friends, they can be the ones holding you back.
And it's interesting because he doesn't just say ignore them. He says cut them out. Surround yourself with people who lift you up, who support you.
Create that positive, supportive environment. Nourish your growth.
And that might mean making some tough choices about who you let into your inner circle.
Yeah, absolutely. You're curating your own ecosystem, a place where you can be yourself, without judgment, without criticism.
And this idea of really owning your life, that keeps coming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
He emphasizes over and over, you're responsible for your choices, your actions, ultimately your happiness.
He's saying you have agency. You have the power to shape your experiences, to create a life that aligns with your values. But that also means taking responsibility.
Right. No excuse.
No blaming others.
He even talks about not letting people tell you how to live your life, Like, don't let them dictate your decisions. Trust your instincts. Make choices that feel right for you.
Develop that inner compass. Have the courage to follow it.
Which can be scary, especially when you're surrounded by all of these opinions, conflicting advice. But he's urging people to stay true to themselves, even if it means making choices that are, unconventional, unpopular.
And he uses the example of marriage, which is, particularly relevant to his audience. He challenges this idea that, marriage is outdated or is not important, especially for women.
Right.
He's saying, no, if you want to find a partner, build a family, that's valid. That's a beautiful desire. Don't let anyone dismiss that.
It's like he's directly addressing that pressure some women feel to prioritize their career, financial independence, over these traditional roles.
He's not saying one path is better, right?
Right.
But he's saying you don't have to apologize for wanting a family.
It's about defining your own priorities, your own values.
Exactly. And he goes even further. He says, find a man who is mature enough to support those choices. Whether you choose to focus on your career, family, a combination of both.
That's a bold statement.
It is.
He's really challenging those traditional gender roles. And again, he's not saying women should be dependent, right?
No.
But a healthy partnership, it's about mutual respect. It's about supporting each other's aspirations.
And I think that ties back so beautifully to his overall message,
Yeah.
Own your choices. Don't apologize for who you are, what you want. Have the confidence to embrace those desires, even when they go against the grain.
And sometimes, the answers we're looking for, they're already within us. We just need to create that space, that quiet, to listen to our own inner voice.
Cultivate that inner wisdom. Trust yourself.
Mwekassa also talks about, not letting people take advantage of your kindness.
Yeah, he uses this really powerful analogy. Someone offers their hand, and then the other person just grabs their whole arm. It's like even these small boundary violations, they feel so disrespectful, so intrusive. And he's saying this applies to everyone, even family, even elders, who might be used to a certain level of deference.
Right.
He's not saying be disrespectful.
Right.
But find that balance. Honor the tradition, but also assert your needs.
Your own personal autonomy.
Exactly.
And he also talks about, not letting other people define success or happiness for you.
Yeah.
It's your journey. What fulfills one person might not fulfill another.
You get to define success on your own terms. Don't let those external expectations dictate your path.
Especially nowadays, like we're bombarded with these messages about what we should be doing, achieving.
It's about filtering out that noise, staying true to your own internal compass.
He also talks about dealing with negative influences in your life.
Yeah, those people who criticize, discourage, belittle your dreams. He calls them dream killers.
Which is a pretty accurate term, honestly.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's a reminder that not everyone will be supportive of your journey.
Yeah.
And he doesn't downplay the impact those negative influences can have,
All right.
They drain your energy, they erode your confidence. They can even prevent you from achieving your full potential.
Well, what's he saying? Like, just cut those people out completely.
He actually suggests distancing yourself, even if it's family, even if it is close friends. It can be a difficult step, but it's about protecting yourself, pursuing your goal.
It's about creating that supportive environment.
Exactly. Surround yourself with people who lift you up, people who inspire you.
And Mwekassa also emphasizes, the importance of embracing solitude, spending time with yourself.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because we hear so much about, oh, you got to stay connected, be socially active. He's highlighting the value of introspection.
Connecting with your inner self.
Exactly. Carve out that me time for self-reflection, for reading, for doing things that bring you joy and peace.
He even says that men who are comfortable spending time alone, they're more likely to be like strong, self-assured individuals.
It's challenging those traditional notions of masculinity.
Yeah.
The emphasis on outward displays of strength, dominance. He's saying true strength comes from within.
From understanding yourself, your values.
And that requires taking the time to connect with your inner world.
So it sounds like Mwekassa's message is all about empowerment,
It is. Taking control of your life, embracing your individuality, living authentically.
Rejecting those societal pressures, defining success on your own terms, creating a life that truly reflects your values.
It's about having the courage to be yourself, even when it's different.
Yeah.
I think that's a message that resonates with so many people,
Yeah.
regardless of their background, their culture.
It's that reminder that we all have the power to choose our own path, to create a life that is fulfilling and meaningful.
It really is, and it's so interesting to hear it from him,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Mwekassa, he's not, some academic or a self-help guru.
Yeah.
He's a boxer. Like, this is a man who's built his career on physical strength and discipline.
Right, yeah.
But his message is all about this inner strength,
Yeah.
cultivating self-worth so you can move through the world confidently and authentically.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Like, maybe that's where true strength really comes from. Not how much you can bench press or how many fights you've won, but how deeply you know yourself and how strongly you hold on to your values.
Yeah. It's like he's saying self-respect is the foundation.
Uh-huh.
Without it, you're always looking for validation from others, trying to squeeze yourself into boxes that don't really fit.
And what really stuck with me was how he talked about solitude as this source of strength.
Yeah.
We're so used to thinking that being alone is a bad thing,
Right. Like it's a weakness.
Yeah. Or you're a failure if you're
Right.
not constantly surrounded by people.
But he's saying, no, those quiet moments when you're by yourself, that's when you can really connect with who you truly are.
Free from all the outside noise.
Yeah. All the
Yeah.
expectations.
Mhm.
It makes you wonder what we're missing out on when we're always plugged in, always distracted.
Right. What if those quiet moments, those are the times when we can actually hear our own inner voice?
The voice that's guiding us towards what really matters.
Exactly. It's like
I-
creating this inner sanctuary for yourself, a place where you can go to reconnect with your values, your dreams, your true self.
And, through this whole deep dive, I keep thinking about all those times we apologize just out of habit.
Yeah.
Like when we downplay our own needs or what we really want just to try and make other people happy. What about you? Was there anything that really resonated with you, something that made you think, yeah, I need to stop apologizing for that?
For me, it was his belief in individual choice. He just kept emphasizing that you have the right to choose your own path, your own version of success, your own way of being. And that's really powerful.
Especially in a world that's always trying to put us in these neat little categories.
Yeah.
It's like he's reminding us that we're not just cogs in a machine.
Right.
We have the power to create our own lives.
To make them meaningful, to make them matter.
And to do that, we have to quiet those voices that tell us we're not good enough.
Yeah. Not smart enough, not worthy.
We have to embrace all of it.
The imperfections, the quirks, everything that makes us unique.
So as we wrap up, I'm left with this question.
Okay.
What's one thing you're going to stop apologizing for? What's one part of yourself that you're going to really embrace?
It's like he's inviting us to step into our own power,
Yeah.
own our choices, live authentically.
No apologies necessary.